The story of the Mysteries of Udolpho begins in a place of profound peace. We find Emily, our protagonist, living a quiet and idyllic life in the Gascony province with her father, Monsieur Stand Orbit. This is the calm before the storm, a pastoral setting that feels almost too perfect. That peace is first disrupted by the arrival of Valancourt, a mysterious and cultured traveller. There is an immediate, unspoken connection between Emily and Valancourt, but it's complicated by the social expectations of the time. Everything changes when the group travels through the Pyrenees. What should have been a scenic journey turns into a nightmare when they are attacked. Valancourt is wounded in the fray, and the shock of the violence, combined with the stress of the journey, causes Stand Orbit's health to collapse. In a moment of sheer desperation, Emily finds herself alone in the dark woods, searching for help. It's here that the Gothic atmosphere truly takes hold. She encounters a mysterious, turreted château and hears haunting, ethereal music drifting through the trees. These moments introduce the core tension of the novel, the line between what is actually happening and what Emily's heightened, fearful imagination might be perceiving. As her father begins to recover, Emily is sent to Toulouse to live under the guardianship of her aunt, Madame Cheron. If Stand Orbit represents the old, honourable order, Madame Cheron represents the hungry, social climbing ambitions of the new era. She is a woman obsessed with status and respectability, and she views Emily more as a social asset than a niece. It is in these high society circles that Emily meets the imposing and unsettling Signor Montoni. The tension ramps up when Madame Cheron, driven by her own vanity and desire for wealth, enters into a secret marriage with Montoni. This is a pivotal moment of betrayal. By marrying him, she effectively hands over the keys to the family's security and social standing. Montoni is not a man of honour. He is a predator, motivated entirely by greed and the acquisition of property. As the family moves toward Venice, Montoni's true nature is laid bare. He is a man who uses marriage and law as tools of entrapment. He begins to pressure Emily, attempting to force her into a marriage with the Count Morano, a man who is less a suitor and more a tool of Montoni's schemes, all to secure Emily's dowry. This leads us to the heart of the novel, the castle of Udolpho. This isn't just a setting, it is a character in itself. It is a massive labyrinthine fortress of stone and shadow that serves as a physical manifestation of Emily's entrapment. Inside these walls, the psychological terror reaches a breaking point. Emily is trapped in a nightmare of shifting shadows, locked doors, and suspicious movements. She is haunted by the sudden death of her aunt and the predatory presence of Montoni, who seems to be orchestrating a web of isolation around her. During this period, the supernatural elements of the book reach their peak. Emily experiences terrifying encounters, a man who seems to vanish into thin air, and the sight of a spectral night. To a reader in 1794, these moments were designed to provoke genuine dread. The atmosphere is thick with the sense that the castle itself is alive with the ghosts of the past. However, as the story moves toward its climax, we see the hallmark of Ann Radcliffe's writing style, the explained supernatural. As the layers of mystery are peeled back, we realize that the ghosts are not ghosts at all. They are the products of human agency, designed to manipulate, hide crimes, or simply the result of a terrified mind misinterpreting shadows. We learn that the dying nun Emily encountered, Sister Agnes, was actually Signora Laurentini, a woman caught up in a web of past scandals. The most significant revelation, however, concerns Emily's own identity. The secrets that have haunted her family are finally brought to light. It turns out that her father, Stand Orbit, had been protecting a scandalous truth regarding her birth and the late Marchioness de Villeroy. He had acted to preserve Emily's honour and social standing, effectively carrying a heavy burden of secrecy to ensure she could live a life of respectability. Even the character of Valancourt is redeemed through this process of uncovering the truth. Throughout the book, he is viewed with suspicion, often perceived as a reckless gambler or a man of questionable morals. But at the end, it is revealed that he is a man of profound integrity. He had sacrificed his own wealth and reputation to save a friend from the crushing weight of debt. He was never the villain Emily feared, he was her true equal. With the villains exposed, Montoni's greed thwarted and the social deceptions unmasked, the order of the world is restored. The novel concludes with a sense of triumphant resolution. Emily is vindicated in her virtue and her perception. She marries Valancourt, and the social and familial lines are mended through a double wedding as Lady Blanche also finds a stable union. May return to a life of peace and benevolence at La Vallée, leaving the shadows of Udolpho behind. When we look back at the Mysteries of Udolpho, it's easy to see why it became such a massive phenomenon. To understand why this book matters, we have to look at how Radcliffe uses the landscape to mirror the human heart. This is what critics call the sublime. When Emily is wandering the Pyrenees or staring up at the jagged peaks of the Alps, the vastness and terror of the natural world are meant to reflect her own internal emotional turbulence. The landscape isn't just scenery, it's a way of expressing the overwhelming scale of human passion and fear. This ties directly into Radcliffe's most famous technique, the explained supernatural. By providing rational explanations for the ghosts, Radcliffe shifts the focus from the realm of the divine or the demonic to the realm of human psychology and human crime. The horror in Udolpho doesn't come from monsters under the bed, but from the realization that people, men like Montoni, are capable of calculated, systematic cruelty. It's a much more grounded, and perhaps more unsettling, kind of terror. It suggests that the real ghosts in our lives are the secrets we keep and the social masks we wear. This brings us to the theme of the mask. In the world of the novel, reputation is everything. Characters like Madame Cheron use the veneer of respectability to hide their greed, while characters like Stained Orbit use silence to protect the very thing they value most, honor. The novel explores how the rigid structures of class and social standing can both protect and imprison. Emily's struggle is essentially a struggle for agency. In a world where men like Montoni and Morano use law, property, and social pressure to control women, Emily's virtue is her only weapon. Her ability to maintain her moral autonomy while being physically and legally cornered is what makes her a hero of the Gothic era. We also see how the architecture of the castle itself functions as a metaphor for the female experience in this period. The labyrinthine corridors, the locked rooms, and the heavy oppressive stone of Udolpho represent the limitations placed upon women. The castle is a physical manifestation of the secrets and ancestral weights that Emily must navigate to find her own truth. It is a place where the past is never truly buried, and where the structures built to provide security often become the very things that cause entrapment. Ultimately, The Mysteries of Udolpho is a story about the triumph of clarity over confusion. It's about moving through the shadows of suspicion and the fog of superstition to find the solid ground of truth. Emily begins the novel as a young woman who is often overwhelmed by her emotions and the world around her, but she ends it as someone who has stared into the darkness and survived. She has learned to distinguish between the shadows cast by a flickering candle and the actual darkness of human intent. By the end, the mysteries are gone, leaving behind a world that is once again ordered, even if it is a world that requires constant vigilance to maintain.